Good afternoon, Victor. How are you?
I'm very fine. We have a beautiful day in Amsterdam. Now it's kind of very warm. I mean, not very warm, but enough warm for Holland. So it's lekker to enjoy that. So everybody's outside. And so it's a nice feeling. So it's a good moment for making an interview. Talk about kink, which is our thing.
Yes. So we're talking about kink, you say, and last time in our first episode, we talk about what is kink, and where everything fits in. And today I want to ask you about BDSM and specifically power exchange. Where does that fit in?
As I told you the last time, we have these different layers of the kink umbrella, and BDSM is about what BDSM means. The B is bondage, discipline, submission, domination, and sadomasochismo. All those things are under the BDSM play, and that most of the time connects specifically to something that we call it power exchange dynamic.
Okay.
What is that?
Yes.
That is the you get an agreement with your dominant. You get into a connection with your dominant, or you as a submissive, or you're the dominant, that you will give your own power to that dominant. As a game, you negotiate that, and that can be a power exchange in long term, like a relationship, in a long-term relationship, and there you can find master-slave type of relationship, or you also can give it only for a certain period of time. The certain period of time is during the scene or during the session, right?
Yes.
But it's about you will guide me through the experience. I will submit to you. I will surrender to you. I give my power to you.
Okay. So there's a little bit confusion for me because I never want to give away my power. So that means I want to stay in control. But if I am the submissive person and I have the red card in my hand and I say red and red means stop, then I'm still in control actually.
This is a very thin layer in this game. What is very important and the big discussion and the thing is like who has the power?
Yes.
The submissive of the dominant. Basically, both have the power in some way.
Okay.
So, for example, when I work myself in a scene with someone, I need that the power exchange happen. Why? If you start control the scene, doesn't give me the freedom to explore with you, to guide you in the forest of the dark shadow where we want to go. Right?
Okay.
If you hold up, it's not fluid. So before you're gonna give you power, you are in agreement with the person that you do it with. So
Okay.
then know what are the limits. And the red flag or the green or the yellow light is actually about to know what are your limits.
Oh, okay. So it's not about the power. It's not really about power. I mean, that you say, no, you are still in power. It's more like safety.
Yes, that keep the safety.
Okay.
Because there are, for example, this is called the safe word, the red, yellow, green. But also sometimes I have a scene.
Yes.
And I do a whipping scene, let's say, with a whip. And I ask my submissive, which I'm working with, I said, you from 1 to 10, where are you? If he say to me 5, I think, okay, I have 5 more to go in, so I can go further. So he wants more further. If I go on to 8 or 9, I'm just in the limit. So then as I should start to be careful because I'm getting into the limit. I can get into 10. I can decide to go into 10, depending on what the submissive want. or what is our agreement, but also I can stop.
Absolutely.
So basically, in this kind of play, it's a lot of kind of rules that you know from before. You will never you will like to explore, right? You will like to give surprise, right? Because that is exciting, right? But the submissive or the passive person will always know that they are in a safe environment.
Yes.
Because that is very important to give
Okay.
make it clear.
So I mean, I don't have a lot of experience about role play, dirty talk, submissive, and control, and I think for me the biggest thing is that I'm afraid that I'm going to lose control in one way, or secondly, somebody's going to hurt me, and there's always there's scenes that we see in porn that somebody whips somebody's ass and ask him who's your daddy, and whip him more. But I don't like this. But I also don't like, I would like to have a little bit more roughness, but also want to feel safe. So do you then, before you start a session, talk about these things?
Well, normally you always talk about what are the limits, where you want to go, where would you like to explore, where you definitely don't want to go.
Okay.
So for that, most of the time, I ask the passive person, the submissive, that they have to give me ¿cómo se llama? Sub list. The sub list is a very long list of all possibilities of sexual expressions and games that you can go into, and then you will see where not, where yes, where not, or where maybe.
Okay.
So this is kind of very interesting because it's a list that give the couple a possibility to explore, because we in Kink are explorer, we are out of the norm. So that gives us a possibility to go to different sides of the forest, right? So for that, we have the most important thing in any type of relationship, and that specifically only in a game, because we're talking about the game now, is that you trust the person you're working with. And the time of trust is the timetable that you need to work with. It's not just like that. You don't give your power to somebody that you don't trust, that's not worthy of your power, right? And now you have to give it. If you want to, you have to give it. Why? Because that allowed me as a dominant to play, because it's about play, right?
Yes. So yeah, so like my question was, I don't want to get hurt, and I don't feel like, somebody must hurt me, but they mustn't also do just light feather touch. I
Yeah.
would like to be held strongly, but not necessarily whip my ass.
Yeah, you have levels of the game. You can go softcore into hardcore. Perhaps the first year you are into softcore, slowly you get into more and more because you have more experience, and basically because you trust more the person you are working with. But normally what you see in porn is the thing that as I told you before, they need to sell and basically never believe in what you see in porn.
Yeah.
It can be hurt. That can really hurt you. Now, for example, in my experience, I sessions that you mentioned spanking, no? Spanking, which is slapping in the ass, right? Can be very pleasurable. Remember, most of the pain is about pleasure.
Yeah.
Not about, oh, I want to be hurt. No, it's about pleasure. If you don't have pleasure, then something wrong.
Okay.
You need to make clear. So you need to have pleasure in that. So depending on the level of pleasure you want or not, you just check what is best or not. But it's very important that you know that the person is doing has a technique, that they know what he's doing, and then you know that you are not in danger. So, for example, a simple thing that I play, sometimes I do a massage. We can say as a tantric man, we can do a sacred sauna massage. Begins as a sacred sauna massage, prostate massage, the whole massage of the ass, and then you go increscendo, and then you start to play the massage, but with a slap, because a slap is also can become a massage.
Yeah.
And go further and further and further and further and further and further and further till what happened. Then you move that energy. That will be very tantric, is what I mostly time I do, because I want that the experience is not just stay there, that the energy is all over the body. And then you can find orgasms there too. Right.
So while we're on that subject, is BDSM or kink or any of these role play always ending up into a sexual pleasure like an orgasm or ejaculation?
No. Kink and BDSM, the main thing is not that you have to go into an ejaculation.
Okay.
You actually, sometimes you are in a situation where the sex never happened in terms of the sex that we know.
Yeah.
For example, all the sessions that I have with my client, I never have sex with them.
No.
No, it never.
Okay.
But we do the scene.
Yes.
So the thing is not about the sex itself. It's more than that. It's about experience sensations.
And the sensations, is this where the tantra and the kink or the BDSM or role play fits in together?
Yes, you mentioned three things: kink, role play, and BDSM. Role play is part of BDSM.
Yeah.
And BDSM is part of kink.
Yes.
But they are not the same thing.
Yes.
So that is very important in the kink to have the concept clear. Because, for example, somebody say, "Oh, I'm a slave," and I am master. I say, "Oh, you're a slave, really?" So if he say that he is slave, it's some codex. So I teach you as a slave, not as a submissive.
Yes.
Or not as a model as a model for bondage, because you said you're a slave.
Yes.
So the concepts are very important. So in this case, you say kink, role play, and BDSM. Role play is together with BDSM, and that is part of kink. Not everything is about pain, as I told you, because when you do bondage, you don't need to go to pain.
Yeah.
Bondage is more about, in many circumstances, the game can go into altered state of consciousness, mostly altered state of consciousness, and a power change dynamic with a scene like or pain or role play or whatever the scene is. You can go into altered state of consciousness, which will be a subconscious way of form, what not necessarily is connected to sexuality, first chakra thing, right? So then the story is more than that. It's connected more to your spiritual side. It's connected more to how you can heal yourself. Things that happen, somebody in bondage or in suspension, you basically trip. You go inside yourself.
Yes.
So I use mostly the kinky technique. I use it as a healing path.
Wow, that sounds amazing. So that's I never thought of kink or bondage or even BDSM as a healing modality. You always think it's more just a sexual fantasy world, but not as healing. And this is where you also say the shadow lives, is to heal the shadow.
Yeah, you work with the shadow, you face your shadow, and what is in the shadow is all things that we repress.
Okay.
Like
So,
when you, if you, sorry.
Yes, yes, exactly. I wanted to ask you, what is the shadow? What is it? I mean, we know a real shadow is some dark space, but in this instance, give me an example of what is a shadow.
When you think about the shadow is a concept that came in psychology with Jung. Carl used Jung, and they start to talk about the shadow itself. But what is in the shadow is what is our unconscious, and there is all things that good and bad things that we can think that we are bad, that are repressed. Like things in this case will be part of my shadow. I have a certain tendency to sadism, and that would be basically a shadow thing. So I need to find a masochist to explore my shadow, which will be sadist. But for me, I cannot explain. I cannot explore my sadism if I don't find a real masochist. And a masochist is somebody that have pleasure with pain.
Okay.
If I do a scene with a masochist, it's gonna be much more interesting for me than the scene I do with somebody that's not masochist, right? And the shadow we all find also as the opposite. There are masochists, people that have fun with that. But
Okay.
also in the shadow, you can find the negative aspect of the power, how you can deal with power, how you can deal with the dictator that is inside you, how
Yes.
you can heal your dictator, right? So
So what I hear is actually it's the conflict between the good and the bad, and what we
yes,
perceive from many external factors like religion, like community, like where we grow up, our families, and so forth, and what is right and what is wrong, and that conflict sometimes we find that shadow is something that we would like to explore.
yes, you have the shadow. You have in one aspect the shadow that anyone without being a kink want to explore. But also you have the king, the person that is a kinkster itself, that he want to explore the shadow to further, you know, because a lot of things are in the shadow. You also can say, if you are from an outsider, you will say this is bad.
Yeah.
But I'm insider say, no, why this is bad? It's not bad.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm not crazy because I do what I think I do.
Mm.
And it's fine because it helped me to empower myself and become a better person, a better version of who I am. It's the way I explore and I find in my own sexual expression, right? So that you need to be very careful what is good, what is bad, depending on the society that you are in for. For example, till the year 1994, everything that was kink, it was considered as a paraphilia, is considered as a paraphilia, which will be a mental disease. So till the year 1994, we were all lunatic, bad people, right? So this is very recent. For the homosexual, well, the woman in the 1925 have the right to vote. The homosexual at the end of the 60s start to come out, the things start to resolve. And the kinksters is really much more later.
Sure.
You know, most of the time happen that you come out as a gay man, but then you have to come out as a kinkster.
Yeah. And that's even worse.
Which is even worse. You can lose your family, you can lose the job, you can lose everything.
Yeah.
You know.
Okay.
But on the other hand, it's a lot of things from the kinky world that are in any normal person. For example, why you are interested in kink?
Well, I think for me, as you know, I'm called a vanilla boy. I don't know why, but um, you know, I think everybody's got a little bit of something that we want to explore a little bit more. And I think for me to explore a little bit more about not only the king, but also giving up my power. I'm always in control. And for me is to give up that control. It's very difficult for me. I just can't even imagine to give up the control. When you facilitate a retreat, a workshop, or just a normal massage, you are in control. And sometimes you just get tired of that control and you want something else. And for me, it's to explore this in a very nice, safe way, but also pushing my limits and also deal with my shadows deep down that say, oh wow, I actually would like to explore that, but because of where we come from in South Africa, the very conservative apartheid regime, we are a little bit more suppressed in a way, and we're not allowed to do things. And I think this is why I would like to explore a little bit of this side of me. And yeah, I think this is
The
where I am.
thing, the thing you mentioned that give it up control. This is under the umbrella of power exchange dynamic. So basically, you will be fun. You will have fun and bondage, in a bondage session, basically.
Yes.
Because
Yes.
there you need to trust the people that's doing it, and then you think about bondage as a meditative state.
Yes.
So most of the time, people that work with bondage, they come to my studio and we have bondage session. They are people go into the special state because they are most of the time very busy life outside. They have to deal with things. They just need at least a couple of hours where somebody's holding the space for you. And then in that case, the whole session, the whole kink experience become very therapeutic because after the session, you feel like oh, all the stress is out.
So,
Right?
so I just want to understand something quickly. Do you start with a bondage or a bondage session first, and then go over into BDSM or giving up your power or the power exchange? Or how would a normal session, what is the flow of a session? I mean, you talked about you start with a massage maybe, and what happens then?
I normally do, because I'm a tantric man, before I go to any experience with kink or any all this area, I ask the client to have first a tantra massage, because through the tantra massage, I will check out this chakra like a doctor. You check out where this person is.
Okay.
And at the end of the session, I will ask them, why you want to explore kink?
Okay. Okay.
Okay, fine. See you in 1 month, see you in 2 weeks, and come to the first bondage. And I work with Shivari and a massage together, which will be the light aspect, no power exchange, no anything. Just using Shivari as a way of feeling myself, giving up control in a light way, because I will be going to that special space of mind. So then we will say, okay, now you are in this space, and not necessarily you go into the more intensive part. That can be together with massage, and then you can have in bondage, you can have the whole tantra massage, like as we know, with ropes in it, and it's very nice. I create myself my own technique where I can go through the whole tantra massage with bondage. So it's a kind of very interesting dynamic I've been doing for years, and it's very interesting. But then when this person has this experience and they say, okay, I want to go further. And I say, well, where further you want to go?
Yes.
And then we have two things. Power exchange dynamic, master and servant submission, which connect with the spiritual side. Because when you submit to someone, you are talking about, you are connecting with this submissive archetype inside you. And I become the archetype, master, king, whoever I am, that, is in front of you. I'm not MrViktor anymore. I am the archetype.
Okay.
So these two archetypes meet. So if you are able to go into this mind space, is where the healing starts to. And after that, when we find out ourselves in there, we start to play with technique. What kind of technique? Technique connected to pain, if you want. Technique connected to a hard form of bondage will be with duct tape, can be with heavy restraint form, together with slight pain games, exploring your nipples, nipple play, CBT, which will be cock, balls, and CBT is cock, ball, torture in the sexual way. So it's all sort of a technique you can play there, but also that you do it under the will be the third session.
Sure.
Before can happen that in the second session the person say, listen, it was very nice, but I don't think so. It's for me.
Yes.
Oh, I can say to you, listen, it was nice to do, but I don't think that this is something for you. Like when you say the last interview that we record, that you say that when somebody was doing bondage to you, you got the hard on.
Absolutely.
That is interesting because this means that the bondage is moving sexual energy.
Yes.
And it's not about the person that is doing it. This is very interesting.
No.
It's about the action itself.
Yes.
So
Yes, I think that was a very surprising. I was very surprised about the whole idea of, oh shit, now I'm going to get blindfold and I have to bit all this rope work, and I was so concentrating on all the ties that we need to learn, and then suddenly, when somebody did it to you and suddenly there's a hard on, you think, is this a hard on? Is it not a hard on? What's going on here? Um, Although it was not, it was pleasurable, but it was not sexual. And I
Yeah,
found it very, very interesting.
yeah,
But there was also healing in that day. Yeah. So,
yeah, because then you discover something
yeah, absolutely.
that is tantric, because you are transforming.
Yes.
So that is a very important thing. That's what I like to work with Tantra, because you can apply all the Tantra technique into the concepts of the Tantra into the kink,
Yes.
which means I make my kink conscious. That's what I always talk about,
Yes.
conscious kink. It's not just about playing, it's I have knowledge, I learn something from the story, I learn about myself, and I learn how I can transform myself to this experience.
Yes.
So then you make the whole journey as a positive thing.
Well, I would like to know more, but we have a time limit today, and so thank you so much for answering some of my questions.
Yes.
And if you want to know more about any of Mr. Viktor's work, you can also go to ask me about his, for his details, or ask himself if you know him, or you can go to our be.tantric online community, because this is where we teach and have a lot of information about Tantra, about Kink, BDSM, and rope work. And then there's other wonderful videos as well, and training on be.tantric online community. Great. Thank you so much for listening to us, and have a nice day.